Okay, welcome everybody to our presentation today. We're going to be talking about managed services with the network and with firewall. And it's really a relevant topic, and I'm excited to have some time to talk a little bit about why this may or may not make sense for your district. There's a lot that goes into it, and with security being a bigger and bigger deal, every year it seems having a network that is secure and guarantees student safety and performs up to the expectations of all the stakeholders in the district. Obviously, a managed type of service is something that a lot of districts have looked at. So who I've got today along with me is our business engagement manager from that area of our business and managed services is Justin Volden, and he brings a wealth of experience to this business area in the private sector and in the public sector. So I look forward to hearing what he has to say about kind of what the definition is of managed services in our world and with K-12, and what is the value proposition of making an investment in that area versus kind of the status quo, which I think in school districts for the most part has been trying to have a small staff take care of everything, or to augment your staff with someone that comes in periodically, once a week, twice a week, and fixes things as they break, so to speak. And sort of this alternative of managed services and with the tools that are in place, how is that different? What does that do for a district, and what opportunities does that avail to a school district that's looking to have a network or a firewall operation that is just more to standard or more to best practice. So a little introduction. I'm Derek Blakesley. I've worked with many of the districts in the state for going on 8 years now. Gosh, that feels long. But I've been in IT for 17 years, and I go in and meet with districts all across the Midwest, really, in Illinois as well. Just kind of talking about what types of investments are going to be made in technology each year in order to forward the mission of the district. And this isn't a piece we're excited about. Where PDS itself, we're going to be making some investments as a company to do a better job and be more valuable to our school district. So we're going to try not to make this a commercial for PDS, but talk about managed services more of a broad sense, and hopefully answer questions or clear up any uncertainties you might have about entering into those kind of partnerships with hopefully local businesses or those that are in the business of education or the public sector, like PDS is. So to give Justin a little introduction, Justin is our business engagement manager. Like I said, he's got a lot of experience. He's been around for 16 years, all of them with PDS. And he really comes up with the solutions for how we're going to operate that's going to provide solutions that are low cost and are effective and meet the needs of the districts that partner with us in order to have better performing and more secure networks, and they can do a better job of guaranteeing student safety. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Justin. He's going to go through the material we have for you today. I think it's important. He's spent a lot of time putting this together. I'm excited to kind of hear it. That if any questions do come up, make sure you're able to get in contact with us, and that we'll follow up as soon as we can. But the presentation is really thorough, and I think Justin did a great job. Good job, Justin. And so without further ado, Justin Bolden.
Great. Thanks, Derek. I really appreciate it. And yeah, my goal today, I think everybody's heard the presentations. What are managed services? What functions are included? What do they do? How do they help? We'll touch on it. We'll talk through it a little bit, make sure we're all talking about the same thing. We all have the same definition in our head, and we're all thinking about it through the same lens. But what I want to spend a lot of time talking about is how do you get the value out of it? So a lot of organizations we've worked with, we've seen that they've jumped around a bit from provider to provider, and that takes a lot of effort. So I want to talk about how do you prevent that? How do you make sure you find that correct provider up front, be it PDS or whoever it may be? So, what's the role of managed services? It's pretty cliche, but technology is moving really fast. Yeah, it always has moved really fast, and it's only going to continue to accelerate. That's just how it works, and that's what we're all used to. nothing's new there. Nothing's changed there. It's fast. What's really different about right now, or over the last 10 years or so, we've seen IT's responsibility really balloon. The number of things that you have to be responsible for, the breadth of the landscape that you have to be an expertise on, you have to have expertise on, has really grown. So that seems to be the bigger problem right now, right? Is how do you cover all the bases? And maybe you can do it for a short time, but then how do you keep up to speed on all the bases? So there's this back and forth that we see people we see organizations struggle with, and IT people are smart. And some of the most adept learners out there. They have to be. They're capable of taking information and figuring it out. They're taking it, internalizing it, and utilizing it. But that's not always enough, right? Because there's still only so many hours in the day. Burnout is completely real, and it's a accelerating trend. With COVID in this past year, and the rapid change yet again that we've all seen, and a lot of times the reduction in staff we've seen, and then with that comes expansion of skills. There's only so much people to spread out, and burnout's picking up. So those are really two main problems that we're talking about when we're talking about why someone's talking about managed service. The role is really focused in how do you solve those two problems, or one of those two problems, the skill gap, the skill expertise and skill gap, or just the lack of bandwidth in people. And the role is, what you see on the screen. We're talking about proactive administration, monitoring and response, support and remediation efforts, and technical coordination. And this is what a managed service is. This is what we all know this, and we know what the problems are, but then how do you get value out of it? So what should a managed service always do? It's got to be an outcome-based solution. If you're talking about managed services, security, reliability, predictability, and the privilege of focus have to be key outcomes of any managed service. If they're not delivering those four things, it doesn't really matter what else they might be delivering. Eventually, it's going to run its course, and it's not going to be the valuable engagement that you need it to be. It's not going to be the partnership you need it to be. Managed services need to tick these boxes. It's a non-starter if it doesn't, in my opinion. And there's a lot of ways to go about ticking these boxes. What does security mean? What does reliability mean? We'll talk a little bit more about that as we're going through here. But these are four key pieces that you have to keep in mind. So what is a definition for managed service, right? Every organization out there seems to have a slightly different definition. And when you talk to an organization, Bob versus Phil is going to also have a different definition of what managed services is in that organization. So I want to level set, give us all the same lens. And what we're talking about with managed services is really it's a engagement and delivery model which provides a set of IT capabilities or functions. It doesn't matter what they are. It's just a set of capabilities and functions related to IT, and it's on a regular cadence. It's always happening. There isn't point-in-time conversations to make it work. There aren't point-in-time scopes of work. This is a regular, reoccurring cadence that's well-oiled and just happening for you. And there's got to be a feedback loop in it. There has to be a way for the services to improve. There has to be a way for those services to feed back into your improvement efforts, and for you to feed information into the managed service for it to improve. It has to be able to evolve. It has to be able to grow, and it has to be regular. It can't be choppy or piecemealed out. And so that's a very long-winded definition. I realize that kind of got stretched out there. But when we're talking today, just think about it as any set of IT capabilities, and it's happening on a recurring basis for you, and it's feeding into your improvement efforts. So common capabilities, again, this is stuff we know, right? Managed services provide patching, remediation efforts. They do monitoring. They do configuration changes. They help you do the day-to-day. They take effort off your team so that your team can focus on things. And that's privilege of focus. Right now, teams are, we said it, they're stretched thin. They can't focus on tasks. They can't focus on a project for a long period of time. There's just too many things happening. So how do you alleviate some of that pressure so they can have the privilege of focus on taking all this technology investment that you have and delivering something meaningful with it? How does having the greatest, latest technology isn't valuable in and of itself. It doesn't do anything for you to have this amazing ClearPath solution if you're not using it to solve a problem, if you're not using it to make the life of your teachers or whoever else easier. If that's not what you're doing with it, then what's the value in that technology? So your team needs to be the expert in translating technology to business value. The managed services are trying to give you the privilege to focus on that. How do we clear up the day-to-day for you? So again, I said I wanted to spend most of this about how to get the value out of it, not talking about what a managed service is, but I wanted a level set so we had the same lens. So selecting a partner, what was this really looking like? When you talk to us, a service provider, we like to talk about our skills. We like to talk about our bench and how deep it is, and how many certificates we own, and all those fun things. But that's not necessarily the most important thing to you. Sure, it's great to have that expertise, but how are they actually using them? So is the engagement transactional, or is your engagement with them going to be a consultative approach? How are they doing staffing? So they may have a huge bench of certs. Are they full-time employees? Are they part-time employees? Are they going through staffing organizations? Are these contract workers that are only going to be around for a few months at a time while some project's happening, and they're using them for your engagement, but they're going to be gone, and that knowledge that maybe they've gained is going to disappear. You need to know what a service provider staffing strategy is, because it impacts you. You need to know those people who are going to be working with you. Are they experts at the technology, or are they just competent? Certs don't tell the full story. They show competency, but it doesn't mean that they're expert. Even advanced certifications, there's good certs that do a great job at weeding people out, absolutely, but it's not always the full story. And unless you really know that test, you may not know how good of a job that specific cert does at weeding people out. So you need to dive in, understand what are the engagements they have, who are the clients they have, are they truly experts in this field, or do they have competent people? And it matters, because it's going to dictate how they can engage with you and what they can do for you. And if you're looking to extract the most value out of an engagement with a partner, they need to be able to do more than just day-to-day administration. Otherwise, again, the engagement's going to run its course, and you're going to find yourself looking for a new partner again, or a second partner, and now you have two people helping you out that aren't communicating, and you have to play glue between those organizations. So can they do more than maintenance and support? It's the same idea, right? It's the point we were just saying. They have to be able to do strategy for you. They have to be able to roadmap. They have to be able to give you industry-leading recommendations for your organization to operate correctly and to extract the value out of the money that you're spending for this. So the money that you're spending, it's not just about the money either. It's about the commitment that the service provider will make to you. One thing that we see a lot of is somebody will get in with a service provider that was vastly cheaper, but then they get going in a regular cadence and they find that everything they ask for costs extra. That's not included. That resource is a different level resource than what's included in your contract. And you get into the nickel and diming. So before making a decision on price, make sure you really understand the commitment that they're willing to make to you. Are they willing to dive into a deep issue with you without charging you extra hours to do that? Are they willing to really put in the effort that you need from them without trying to charge you for it? Are they a break fix shop, or are they actually a managed service? So there's a lot of shops out there that they are break fix, and there's absolutely a role for break fix in the IT world. A break fix shops make a lot of sense in a lot of situations. What it really comes down to is you need to make sure you understand if you need managed services or you need break fix services. So when we're talking about break fix, this is transactional again. Now we're in a transactional relationship. You're asking for something and they're delivering at it. Something breaks and they're fixing it. And even some monitoring services can really be break fix, just wrapped in a managed services a look, right? They see something break and they respond and they fix it. But what's missing there is that continual feedback we talked about. So there's got to be a mechanism that takes what's happening and turn it into moving your organization forward, moving your IT environment forward. How is it becoming more robust? How is it becoming more resilient? Not just about fixing it when it breaks. It's about making it better over time. And you need to decide what kind of engagement you're looking for, and then make sure that the provider isn't just wrapped in something pretty, and their engagement model makes sense for you. And then, yeah, they should be willing to participate in maintenance plans. This one is, it's a little bit gray, right? So what does that mean? Are they willing to participate in the creation of a maintenance plan and not just doing it? So this kind of gets to the point of, are they competent or are they experts? Are they going to be able to come into your environment and assess it and tell you what it is that you should be doing for this environment as a baseline to keep it healthy, and then what is above baseline? So beyond just keeping it good, what else should you be doing to improve it? And are they going to come in and ask you to, we want to do train the trainer, we want to use your knowledge base and let us know what you want us to do and we'll do that for you? Or are they going to come in and say, here is our plan, this is how you should be doing this? When you have this Aruba solution deployed, or you have these FortiGate deployed, if you're using the Fortinet security fabric, these are the minimum things you should be doing regularly. These are the reports you should be paying attention to, and this other 90% of the reporting is what you should not be paying attention to. And this is exactly why. And this is the KPIs in there that mean something to you, and this is why they mean something to you, and this is how it translates, and this is how that'll turn into some sort of improvement for you. So
hey,
are
Justin,
they able to come? Yeah.
I'd like to interject right there. I think this is probably
absolutely.
the biggest shift that I see is this slide that you're talking about. So historically with school districts, they've partnered with really good break fix operations, and like you said, there's value in that. Where PDS has seen a market opportunity is through a systems approach and through everything Justin just talked about, is this notion of mitigating risk and having an operation that is continuously improving and increasing the odds that student safety is going to be improved or kept secure. So it's an important distinction, because there's costs associated with moving to a managed service in some cases, but that can also be justified as a lot of return on investment for having best practices and being secure and running kind of a tight ship, versus what I would call the current state of many school districts, where you're bringing in a lower cost resource periodically, that sometimes you're spending money per hour and nothing's being done, and other times there's not a lot of value because it's simply a break fix resource that's not doing the type of work that Justin's talking about, which is looking forward and talking about preparation for what you need to do. And I'd also say a provider not coming in and just saying, hey, you have to use this type of technology and this type of gear because this is what we know best. We've seen a market opportunity for us to work with what works best with the school districts and to be able to put in our systems approach. And there's others like us too, players, not just to do the PDS commercial, but there's other managed service providers that I think are going to be much more relevant, because it mitigates risk, and risk with security has never been higher. And there's a little gap there between what you get from break fix versus what you get from somebody who's got a little higher end resources and a little more horsepower as far as making sure that your network's running tight, running securely, and that you're to best practice.
Yeah, excellent points. Thank you, Derek. Yeah, exactly. This is important. This and the next slide I have here, I believe, are the two most important pieces that you need to think about when you're looking for a provider. And it's not just about them listing out what they're going to do. It's how flexible are they going to be? And this ties into the commitment. This ties into the cost. This ties into how are they going to respond to mitigate the risk if something's identified? And are they a group? Is it an engagement model where they can grow and learn with you? Or is it an engagement? Is it a contract that lists out 20 things that they're going to do for you every month, and that's that? And if you want something beyond that, you have to get a new contract. You have to ask for a change. You have to buy some other service. How flexible are they? And what is their philosophy? What's their goal? What are they looking to be to you? If you decide to change your IT strategy, are they capable of changing IT strategy with you, or are they a one technology shop? Are they going to hold you back because you're engaged with them and they can't accommodate something you want to do? Do you have to put it off for a year until this contract's over? There's this concept of technical debt out there. Usually when I'm talking about, we're talking more code related stuff, technical debt, but this is, you don't want your managed IT provider to be technical debt for you. That prevents you from moving forward. That prevents you from changing something, from improving something, from putting something better in place. If the provider becomes a roadblock, that's absolutely terrible. You got to be thinking about how are they going to be able to grow with you as an organization.
And I would say in K-12 too, I see this sometimes where you got to be careful that the manufacturers then that you're dealing with, when we've got E-rate money, so we're all have the opportunity to put in enterprise class gear, to be careful of anyone that's coming in and putting stuff that's not like in Gartner's Magic Quadrant, not enterprise grade, and trying to put something cheaper in to fit the capabilities of a lower cost resource that they're using. Or if they turn around and say something like, well, you can buy this stuff, but you're going to buy it from us, but you look and see that manufacturer is not a leader, is not one of the more robust. Because one of the things about a lot of the systems that are put in by managed service providers too is you want to be able to have as much as you can in one area for support. So are you putting in gear that is perhaps an access point, but then doesn't have any security play or any network access control play that kind of integrates with the rest of the equipment and the atmosphere or the environment that you're in? So there's a lot of questions to sort of ask about that flexibility point. And especially as I see it, is the provider trying to free up more money in the budget to pay them by having you pay less for stuff that isn't exactly the best gear? And I do see that from time to time. It's another thing to look out for. I think you want to find somebody, whoever you kind of partner with in this way, if it fits, if it makes sense for your district, to make sure that district's making, or that partner is making decisions that's in the best interest of the district for whatever is required from the students and teachers, and the numbers and the volume and what you need for your school board and for your leadership to feel comfortable that you're insulating yourself from risks of ransomware and things like that as best you can. So those are just a couple of things I've noticed in my experience.
Excellent. Thank you. So yeah, it's a service provider is not going to be a one size fits all scenario. You have to find the right one for what you have in front of you, and make sure that you've thought through all the pieces of information to make that right decision and assess. So Derek has mentioned security a few times here, because Man, well, as it says, it really is about security right now. It is so important with everything that's happening out there. You have to be thinking about security in most everything you're doing IT, and managed services. They need to be designed in a way that the provider is improving your security posture. You have to be able to have no questions about this person that you're bringing into your environment, the tools they're bringing into their environment. Are they going to improve your posture, or are they a new risk that you have to think about and mitigate possibly? And there's a lot of work to do here. You really need to have a defined questionnaire, and there's consulting groups out there that this is what they do this. They work with you to figure out what is the questionnaire, what is that audit that you need to have your providers go through to ensure that they are not going to put you at risk. And if you don't have that, it's such an important piece. You really should go and take a look at some of these consultants that can help you put together that security audit to ensure that everything is kosher with your service providers. It's so important. Understanding what their internal privacy policies are. So privacy and security, they go hand in hand, right? But they are different. So not just from the technology security standpoint, but you're inviting these people into your environment, and what sort of controls and training have they had for their employees about privacy? They're going to see information that you don't want lots of people to see, that you don't want lots of people to share. You don't want that information to end up outside of your environment. How do they approach that? What are their rules? What are their strategies to combat that for you? What are they doing for IT security? Are they using the solutions that they might be trying to pitch to you? Are they doing something different? And if they are, that's fine. But can they explain to you why they're doing something different? Are they doing something even better than what they're pitching, or are they cheaping out and doing something different because it's cheaper? Making sure you just understand it. You need to be 100% confident with the service provider and understanding where they stand on a security standpoint before you enter that engagement. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for some major risks there, rather than mitigating it through a solid partner. So this is, I said the last two slides were the most important. Maybe this is the most important. Maybe they're all really, really important. There's so much to it, but these are the things you really need to make sure that you're considering. And I think a lot of people do a great job thinking through this, right? Maybe this isn't all, mind-blowing new information that light bulbs are going off and, oh, wow, these are the things I should ask about. That's probably not the case, right? But it's good to reiterate. It's good to get it back in the front of our minds, make sure that we're thinking through these. And the goal is to spark thinking, right? Spark conversation, spark discussion. Maybe none of my bullet points are something new, but maybe when you're thinking about this, it sparks something in your head that I haven't mentioned, and now that's going to help you go back and assess things a little bit better. It's not just about what features and functions they're offering, what skill sets they're offering, and what technologies they're offering. It's got to be much, much deeper than that when you're picking a strategic partner to come into your environment and help you make it work. So some red flags to watch for. What are some things that should make you definitely question where things are going? And this is cliche, I suppose, too. But if all they say is yes, it's a problem. If they never put any asterisks or caveat on their yeses, maybe look deeper, or ask them if they are willing to give you some references to speak to. So references are a big thing. If they're not willing to offer a reference for you to speak to, or they don't have a reference to speak to, maybe that gives a lens to some of the other things that are happening. Are they willing to ensure their employee retention rate? So we kind of, I briefly got on this on the staffing side, but do they have a lot of turnover? That's important. If and there's a couple reasons this is important. I'm going to touch on quick because so I ran a service desk for many years, and one of the things that we really prided ourselves on was our employee retention. We had amazing employee retention in that service desk, and it was always shocking to people because service desk it's a turn and burn type of scenario, right? People are coming in, they're leaving, they're using it as stepping stone. We had an average employee retention rate in our service desk at one point of 4 years. People just they're happy, they stick around. It was a large desk too. When I moved out of that role, we were over 85 employees with an average retention of over 4 years. This is important. It's knowledge. There's a lot to be said for knowledge bases and making sure things get documented, but there's also experiential knowledge that is lost when somebody leaves. But there's a risk piece here too. If you have unhappy people, if you're partnering with somebody that has this environment where people are just coming and leaving, especially outside of a service desk environment, if you're talking about engineers that aren't there for more than a couple months at a time, you got to worry about what's walking out the door with them. Sure, they may have the greatest policies in place, but if they have new people, if you had 3 new engineers in a year span, what walked out the door with them that they knew about something? If it's a bad work environment and they have constant churn, what's the likely? It increases the likelihood of somebody being disgruntled and causing problems for this provider, and now that affects their ability to help you, perhaps. So there's a lot built into that, but I think personally this is an important piece. If providers should be willing to talk about their staffing, they should be willing to talk about their team, they should be willing to talk about their employee retention. And if they're not, maybe there's HR reasons, but maybe they're trying to hide something too. So it's a lens. It helps paint a more complete picture. And then also, is this their main business? What percentage of their employees are actually providing support for the services you're talking about? This can be a hard one to kind of assess sometimes. Large companies are going to have departments and whatnot, but the real idea is, is this a side gig for the company? Do they have a group of people in the side office that are doing this, but the rest of the company is focused on something else completely different? Or is this their main thing? Are they a company of consultants and architects and engineers and administrators that this is what they do? Or are they, mostly printer techs filling ink cartridges and doing managed print services, but then on the side, they're also willing to do infrastructure support? I don't know if that was a great example. It's just what was at the top of my head, but making sure that the organization really is committed to this type of service, really committed to these types of engagements, and committed to all the different pieces that you need in a managed services provider. So normally this is where we would jump into like Q&A, and we would get into a great conversation together. Not possible with today's COVID world at the moment. But Derek, do you have any other last thoughts that you want to share and put out there for everyone? And you're on mute, and I'm putting you on the spot, so I apologize.
There, I got that part figured out. No, I think we've covered everything that we want. I think the main point is just that there are a lot of tools that are available that organizations like PDS can leverage to help districts make things work better and to make your environment more secure and to give you good advice about how to do those things. We can do that cost effectively because of these tools. So the mindset of having someone come and sit in the tech room once or twice a week to try and fix old servers or to kind of do that break fix work, we want to move people out of that mindset into a systems mindset, leveraging tools so that you are able to use a pool of resources that we make available and make investments in. That there's equity for all the districts in the state to access a piece of that pool in order to have expertise, in order to leverage E-rate, in order to get advice and to feel confident that 24/7, 365, you have a resource and you have a way to monitor, to patch, to be up to best practice, to make good decisions, to provide reporting to your board and to your taxpayers, and to be a more complete operation as education continually becomes more reliant on technology to be able to deliver to those stakeholders the type of experience that they deserve and then that they expect. And we want to be a partner. And there's others in the state that are doing a good job and good work along with PDS as well. So you have options out there. And we think we have a better way moving forward. And Justin and I are many other folks at PDS would be happy to carry the conversation further and explain what that experience is like if you'd like to talk about it or email and set up a call.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you, Derek. Thank you for everyone who's watching this. And I really hope this was beneficial to you. So take care and enjoy the rest of your day.